So far, the Crew has cleared every hurdle naysayers have placed in their way. Columbus would be home to one of the 10 inaugural teams. Columbus has outperformed much larger cities. The true success indicator has been from the fans. Well, it's going
out. Hello and welcome to the club. I'm your host Mars, and this is the Upper 90 Club, a roundtable podcast where tonight 6 friends will talk about the Columbus Crew on this T-minus 3 weeks or so from kickoff 2024 season. Anyway, with me in the club, I've got Ben, Mort, Trey, and Haas. We also have Blake from MLS Gone Wild with us. So welcome, Blake.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
How you doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're still in the depths
Tip
of
the
this
hat,
offseason,
Mars.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
We've got about 3 weeks left, right? 20 days if you're counting till the Crew kickoff on the 24th. But we wanted to jump in this week and kind of look at how the league is shaping up. That's why we asked Blake to get on with us, because he knows way more than us. So we'll be leaning heavily on you tonight, Blake.
Quite the wizard.
Depth and breadth. So we want to look ahead to the league this season. We'll talk a little bit about the new provisions that they have, the new rules that they have in place.
If we get there.
Yeah. For this year. And then apparently it's Ben's mission to get Crew fans to follow other soccer teams. So we're going to talk. We're going to try round 2 of the sell your EPL or other team to Mars and Haas game here later. So Blake, before we kind of jump in, why don't you give our listeners just a little bit of history about yourself, how you're involved in the soccer community, but then the Crew specifically, and kind of how you got into the team and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, first and foremost, guys, thanks for having me on. I'll start with my Crew fandom, and that goes back to me being born and raised in Columbus. I lived and was raised in Reynoldsburg, Ohio for the first 18 years of my life before moving down to Virginia. In my time back home in Ohio, I played for various Crew teams, Crew juniors, all around the city. Was attending games, sat in Nordeca front and center with some of my best friends. So I followed the team closely as I was growing up, and I moved down here to Virginia, played college soccer, still followed the Columbus Crew, and right when COVID broke out, me and a couple of my buddies have been, just like you guys did when you guys started this podcast, right? You've been mulling over the idea of, just talking about soccer over a video and just releasing it for people to listen to, whatever. It's called a podcast, I guess. And so we ended up doing it. And, we decided to cover the whole league, but there was a lot of focus on the Crew as well. And over time, I see you guys are 5 deep here, which is great. Keep that going as long as you can, because I started with 3. And it's down to just me, man. It's super time consuming. I mean, you guys know how much time and effort goes into this, so hats off to you as well. But it's down to just me now, and that's tip the hat to you guys. And what I do now is I focus a lot on player interviews, analytics on Twitter, things like that. So I will have some player interviews coming up soon, but through last year, I got married last year, was a very busy year for me, so podcasting was few and far in between. But in that time, I was able to focus on the Crew more closely and, really kind of fall back in love with just specifically focusing on the Crew. And ended up last year attending MLS Cup as media. I got to sit in the press box, was front and center.
Nice.
Got to talk to Aiden Morris right after the game, got a picture with Darlington Nagbe, 2 of my favorite players in MLS. So my love for the Crew has spanned from fan to somebody that's covered the team and everything in between, but it always comes back to me being a fan. And yeah, man, I love the Columbus Crew. I love that I'm here talking about them with you guys. And I love that I get to talk about them with you guys as defending MLS Cup champs, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations on a big year. Having a wife, they're really understanding of these things. They really love that we're involved and sit around at night talking late and all that. So
She hates it.
Yeah.
She hates it.
It'll get better.
That's no problem. They don't listen, so you can say whatever you want. They don't listen.
As long as you build yourself like a false cabinet
Right.
panic room like Ben, it's like
Yeah.
he's so deep.
They can't
in the
even find
basement.
me.
Yeah, the things he says, it's incredible. But congrats, and also it sounds awesome. Like your journey. I did see that on your podcast. You've talked to a lot of players and folks around the league, and I cannot imagine. I mean, I have a hard enough time remembering the Crew game hours after it ends, and I cannot imagine the just keeping track of all the players and all the teams and how things are moving throughout the season. So yeah, tip of the hat to you for sure.
But I appreciate it. I follow you on Twitter, and you're always up on all the things.
I try to stay as up to date as I can. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, so with that, we had some Crew news in the last week or two. Most notably, I think, was just that Molino will not be back. Blake, you're wearing the Molino jersey here in honor of him. We certainly have had a fluctuating relationship with him and how we feel about his presence late in the games, most notably after a couple Orlando games last season. But why don't you kind of talk through what you think about the Crew going into kickoff here in a few weeks, what you've seen happening with personnel, and what we can expect to see as things kick off.
Let's start with the Kevin Molino thing. You guys mentioned the Orlando City stuff. I want to go back and say it is his fault because he conceded some of the fouls and some really sloppy defending, but it doesn't happen if Wilfred Nancy doesn't put him in that position. The guy's old, he's injured. Why are you putting him in to close out a game? We have younger legs like Max Arson off the bench to put in there, right? So it's not all on Kevin Molino. And we should also mention, we talked about it pre-podcast, the one thing that every Columbus Crew fan should think of when they think of Kevin Molino wearing a Columbus Crew kit is his assist in the Eastern Conference Final to take us past Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Amen.
We can't go any further without talking about that. I mean, he didn't play much, and when he did, there wasn't a lot of great stuff happening. But that moment right there, that solidified him as basically a Columbus Crew champion, Eastern Conference champion, which then made him an MLS Cup champ.
Well, when you go back and watch iconic goals that the Crew or any other team has scored, right? His name is at the top of that call. And so, love him or hate him, he was a part of one of the most iconic moments of this championship season. And we owe him a debt for that. So
it could be recency bias, but you're right. I mean, that was one of my most memorable and one of my most favorite goals I've ever seen the Columbus Crew score, just because of how much it meant against the opponent that we had with the stakes at hand. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra time, alley-oop.
There was a quote from Bezbachenko saying that they have agreed to allow him to pursue other opportunities. Do we think he's going to be trying to play somewhere else where he's going to get more time, or explore other opportunities outside of the sport of soccer, playing at least?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, there's a couple teams that immediately came to hand when I was thinking about where he could go. One, Orlando City, which is kind of his roots, or back to Minnesota United. Either one of those teams, I wouldn't want to go to Minnesota United if I were him. They don't have a coach. Does he fit in Orlando? Probably not. I think Kevin Molino's days are just about numbered playing-wise. Whether he's going to move into coaching, which is something we saw Christian Ramirez kind of dip his foot into in this offseason as well. He got a coaching license, if that's something that maybe Kevin Molino wants to do as well. A lot of players are doing that now. Harrison Afful last year when he was with Charlotte, he was also getting his coaching license while he was still playing. And he didn't play a lot, so maybe it is a case where Kevin Molino does go somewhere where it's more comfortable for him, whether it's Orlando or Minnesota, signs a minimum contract, but also goes and gets a coaching license, something like that. I could definitely see that, but I think his meaningful minutes playing days are definitely numbered.
Yeah. And I would.
He can't afford another knee injury.
No, that's the other thing, and you can't blame him for the injury he's got, and you can question why he got resigned and things like that. And I would say to your point, I think it would put in a situation that wasn't suited his style. It was different than, for example, at the end of the MLS Cup final, where we're in a position where we're holding the ball and we just want to hold the ball and just ride it out. It's not a player that was put in when we are on our heels and try to just keep the players out of the box, and that's not who you want in there. So I think he was put in bad spots. He shouldn't be on the top of our own 18, try to clean up some
no, because every bad foul that he did make was him trying to cover up for getting beat.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing I had on him was, it's still up in the air how much of his $750,000 contract the Crew will be paying this year, if any of it. But the fact that they renewed it, there is the question mark that they might be paying him some money for nothing.
Yeah, but I think that was written in the. I mean, I had rumors that if certain things trigger in people's contracts if they win certain cups and whatnot. I think what I read was, or what I heard was, it might have been something where if we won the cup, then he gets an automatic, contract or something like that. That's why it happened. They announced it because they had to, and then he wasn't on the plane flight down for preseason. Like they knew he wasn't going to be a part of the team. But he seems like super genuinely liked. Everyone loves him.
Oh yeah.
On a personal level, and he's been a very good player. Like we were talking at the beginning of the pod that when he got signed, I was stoked. Blake said the same thing. Same thing with BWP, and they both, with injuries, they were just kind of like dud signings. But I'll tell you what, when they signed, I was like, we're gonna win again. Like we're gonna win the cup again. But there was just some stuff out of his thing. But I think ultimately we're gonna look back, and the only thing I can think of is that alley-oop assist to beat Cincinnati to go to the MLS Cup. Beautiful arc of the season that I called, by the way. No big deal.
Erase everything else out of your mind about Kevin Molino.
Yeah, agreed. There's no and that's when it counted. So thank you.
We need a Crew 2 coach.
Thank you, Kamo. Good luck in your future endeavors.
Yeah, but back to the Columbus Crew, because you asked a very broad question about what it kind of looked like this offseason and whatnot. Yeah. So we lost Molino, right? We also lost Julian Gressel. It's a big loss. I think that when he came in, he was a serviceable member when we got him from Vancouver midseason. He's one of the best crossers of the ball. He can provide some of the best service from the right side in MLS that we've seen over the last decade, maybe in MLS history. And he's going to do that in Inter Miami as well. So it's a big loss for us. But, he didn't play the last 3 games, really, of the postseason. Mo Farsi, who's a guy that came up through MLS Next Pro, makes a quarter of the money that Julian Gressel does is providing on both sides of the ball like we really need him to. So, how big of a loss is losing Gressel? It's okay because we still have Farsi. Now, it's a lot bigger of a loss if we also lose Mo Farsi, who had interest from the Middle East about a month ago, and I haven't heard anything else on. But being able to keep Mo Farsi on the salary that we do, that's big time because he looks like a really good two-way player in Wilfried Nance's system. So that's the Gressel thing. There's not too much to that, I don't think. But then, we bring in Heinz Stroza, Derek Jones, and we brought in a goalkeeper too, correct?
Yeah. And we almost get an extra signing in Sands coming back too. That's almost like a new signing as well.
We keep forgetting about Sands.
Yeah, I don't have it up in front of me. I put out a tweet about a month ago a couple weeks ago about Will Sands coming back and feeling like a new signing as well. And just his numbers through the first month and a half of the year.
He looked so good.
Yeah. And how good he was. Yeah. I remember, was it the Atlanta game when he burned Brooks Lennon down the inline and put it in assist?
Oh, yeah.
I think he just pushed the violin and ran around him. I'm like, this is ridiculous. He looked really good. So I hope that when he is 100% healthy, because I don't expect him to be 100% as soon as we get out of preseason, right? He's going to have to get back into full fitness. But I'll be interested to see what that competition looks like between him and Yaya Boa.
Yeah, exactly.
On that left wing back spot. Yeah, but I mean,
did Sands Sorry, did Sands come up with that class of MLS Next Pro guys that won in 2022?
He did.
Yeah.
I know because I was doing that signing day on the cup final where they had all the last class to set outside, and I talked to him. That's I talked about the injury. He's like, I'm healed, but I won't be playing this year. Because I asked him, "Are you going to be ready for the playoff?" He's like, "No, I'm practicing, but I'm not playing."
I listened to some of his preseason press stuff, and he says he feels 100% at practice, but he acknowledges that there's a difference between practice and game shape. So
For sure.
seems like it's headed in the right direction.
Definitely. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how that competition with him and Yaya Boa shakes out, because although like we're giving Will a lot of credit right now, Yaya Boa scored the game-winning goal in MLS Cup, right? And Yaya Boa is a guy that came in as a right winger that cuts in on his left foot, and then he's starting as a left wing back in Wilfred Nancy's system and scoring a goal that lifts us our third trophy. So it'll be interesting to see how that fits. And then the Derek Jones thing, I love it. I mean, we all know what Wilfred Nancy has done with so many players along the back line. Whether it was Steve Moreira, who's normally a right back, who played right center back this year, or Sean Zawatsky, a guy that we'll talk about later. He's a center mid, but he started a lot in spot minutes at center back. Malte Amundsen primarily played left back at New York City
Best
FC.
signing.
Primarily played left back, and now he's playing in a 3 left center back. Yeah, the underrated, one of the best signings of the season. And it was an emergency. We're like, oh shit, Will Sands is
Right. Yeah.
Will Sands is hurt. How do we replace Will Sands? We bring in Malte Amundsen, but then we don't even play Malte Amundsen at the position we think we're replacing him for, which is just absurd. And then that just happens all over the field. So like Derek Jones is naturally like a 6'8" guy, a central midfielder that would, slot in with Aiden Morris or Darlington Nagbe. But like, I guarantee that he'll get run in there whenever Rudy Camacho needs a break.
Yeah.
He's a big physical body that can distribute like a center midfielder, just like Sean Zawatsky can, but he's bigger. I think it's just a great little piece where Wilfred Nancy can kind of plug in wherever he may need. And then Heinz Stroza, I mean, he's the last piece, but like he looks like he's going to be a good player. There's been a lot of speculation on what does he actually play. It sounds like he's going to be like a right wing back. Maybe he can play. A lot of his highlights are really good attacking highlights. So it's like he could play in the 2 underneath the striker as well. He could play right wing back. I don't really know. The guys over at MLS seem to think he's going to play right wing back. So we'll see.
It's a potato.
Like instead of Farsi?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because who knows? Yeah, for sure.
We just talked about the depth, man. We just talked about
that. I mean, it was Zawatsky. So Zawatsky just had got his contract extended. So he's going to for sure be there. And the thing that interests me is that he went into the U.S. camp as a 6 or possibly 8. And after being there for a week, won the starting center back job. Like that's what they were saying on the broadcast. They were like, well, he came in as a 6, but he beat out every other person for center back. And then he proceeds to start and play the full 90 for the U.S. as a center back. So like, if he's coming in and beating people at a position he wasn't even brought in for, like, is that just where he's going to end up next season? I mean, it's just I don't know.
I think so. I mean, I think he's a jack of all trades. I mean, because look, it's going to be a lot harder, I think, for him to break into the central midfield of the Columbus Crew than it is for him to break into the back line. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious to all of us. And I think what's to be noted here is in that same camp that he was just called in for, which I should say I was shocked that Zawatsky was called in.
100%.
But I'm so happy that he was because he stood out and he looked like he fit in. He looked like he belonged there. But James Sands, Will's brother, plays for New York City FC. He was primarily a central midfielder, and then people found out, like, oh, maybe we can move him back to the back line because he can distribute. He's a big body. He can do all the things we need of a center back, but he can also distribute. And him and James were in that same camp together, this most recent U.S. men's national team camp. And, Berhalter had a decision to make. Who do you start back there at center back? I thought it would be James Sands. And it wasn't even James Sands. It was Sean Zawatsky. So Sean Zawatsky, he outplayed James Sands. It's something James Sands kind of blazed the trail on in MLS the past couple of years.
But you have to remember, last season, we were almost surprised when we brought in Camacho. We said, is Camacho really going to go in and take his spot? Because he had like a string of games where Zawatsky was playing such a high level back there. We thought we had solved that issue. And then we brought in Camacho. It's like, really? And then we pushed him out of the team. That was almost like, it was surprising at that point because he was playing at a very, very high level.
There was a crazy set of like 10 games between May and July where we could go back and look, but the back line was different every week. It was just like maybe Josh Williams will come back. Who will save us from this situation?
Remember that Quentin guy?
Not on defense.
Yeah, Quentin, he was pulled, and there were injuries, and that was a questionable. I mean, I just remember us talking like I don't know what we're going to do. And Zawadzki was really the guy who kind of showed up before that window opened and we started, filling it out.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Rudy Camacho is also a Wilfred Nancy guy. Wilfred Nancy coached him up in CF Montreal, so he's got a decade's worth of MLS experience. So you got to think that that experience within the league, and then with Wilfred as well, like that bodes well.
And leadership.
Gave him the edge. Yeah,
and leadership,
sure.
Like you can feel the leadership come oozing out of him.
For sure. Yeah. And one thing, since we're talking about Rudy, that I think is important to discuss, even though Rudy knows Wilfred Nancy, he hadn't had a preseason with the Columbus Crew. He was expected to come in right in the middle of the summer, fill in and slot in right at that central spot in the center back, and then run the team, be the anchor of the team, and distribute from there like that. And that's not only for Rudy, but that's also for Malty Amundsen. Malty Amundsen came in 2 months into the season and was expected to hit the ground running.
Rossi. I feel like there's so many players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Having those two guys plus Rossi, and there's probably others that we're not even thinking of, but those three guys specifically, having them there with the team, having them there with the team for this preseason altogether, like especially our back line, because our Achilles heel this past season was the back line and how exposed we were. Having Amundsen, Camacho, and Moreira, even though Moreira's been away, having those two brand new guys that never got a preseason with this team learn Wilfred Nancy's system with the rest of the guys around them, I think that's going to be one of the biggest parts and the biggest emphasis on this preseason for the Crew.
Yeah, we're going to win the World Cup.
And
I
hope so. Super Bowl too, man.
In New Jersey.
Do you have any inklings on if so, how the Nancy system will evolve this season to keep the copycats or the hard studiers at bay for this season?
And I don't think it's going to waver too much. I mean, we've seen in the 3 years of Wilfred Nancy being a head coach, 2 in Montreal, 1 in Columbus. I think it was 2 in Montreal. He's been pretty unwavering. Like he is strict with his system. It is possession oriented. 3 at the back. 1 guy's going to step into the midfield. We're going to knock the ball around. We're going to wear you down. We're going to get the ball down to the final third. And then we are going to, that's when we get creative. We're going to have our front 3 guys up there, find the pockets of space, turn, get guys to the inline, cut balls back, things like that. Like it's a pretty it's not cut and dry. It's a beautiful system the way that he plays. And I don't think it's going to change just because we're going to have people gunning for us and trying to take the title from us. I think it's a proven system. It's a system that can win. And if he has his players there and players that can play the roles he needs, which he does, I think that he'll continue to run that system, which leads me into expectations. I was asked this recently, like, what do you expect from this team? Because like we said, we really didn't lose much outside of, Molino and Gressel. Like if you don't lose those kind of pieces and you reinforce some spots, I think there will be maybe a little bit more reinforcement. Like we said, the window doesn't close till April 23rd. Like expectations are very high for the Columbus Crew. Like I don't want to put a specific point on it or a pen in it, but like they're very, very high. And I would be remiss to say like I can almost see a repeat. Like legitimately with the talent that we have up front and having a full off season with the defense that we have and bringing in some reinforcements, like I can absolutely see a repeat with this team.
Yeah, and a lot of that is of course like timing and all those things, right?
Sure.
Coming in hot and finding our way in the right time and all that. So with the championship, how it is, you have to have a little luck too. But yeah, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to push.
But I think that with at least what we saw last year, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but with the strength of the Eastern Conference over the Western Conference last year, if we see some kind of repeat there, and we set the expectation for the Crew to say finish third or better like they did last year, I think you have to finish high enough to secure some home games during the playoff run, and then the rest is kind of where you are in your stride there. But I'm with you. It's doable, and I think that top 3, top 2 in the East is realistic for this team, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a good shout is like we are going to win because we're in so many different cups. I'm assuming US
Win a
Open
trophy.
Cup will
I
probably
think we win a
still happen.
trophy.
Yeah, I think we win a trophy, whether it's whatever. And I think more than anything that we have a good shot at winning the Shield, because the Shield is typically somebody who comes out and like wins a lot or gets a lot of points off the jump. Like the team that hits their stride is usually the team that like wins the cup. But like, I mean, Cincy was on top most of last
Cincinnati
year, or
keeps
something like
telling
that.
us over and over.
Oh yeah, they love
Yeah.
it. They love it. But I mean, I think we're
Yeah.
going to hit the ground running right away, and we're going to rack up points, and then it'll just be
How
like
much-
a war of attrition.
How much is the biggest risk of being victim of our own success when it comes to, well, number one, a coach that is being written about and followed, and even I know there've been some writings about him back in France, and also the other question is somebody like Aiden Morris that is at a point in time in his career that is going to be some opportunities for him to maybe go in and don't do the will trap and wait too long, as I called it. I felt like he should have gone at an early time, but he never went. It never developed to that level that we thought it was going to be. But I don't know if you have thoughts on that. I saw when it signed an extra central defender, I said, is this to, fill the gap of potential losses?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to lose Wilfred Nancy mid-season. I think that regardless of what happens, I think we have him for the full season. I don't foresee that happening. Now, there are rumors about plenty of other players around the league leaving come summertime, most notably Thiago Almeida. Like, we were talking about the Columbus Crew winning the Shield. Like, Atlanta's probably in that conversation as well, if they can keep Thiago Almeida through the summer. If they don't, they're screwed, right? And the same thing with Columbus Crew. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, this is a team that definitely could win the Shield. Like, it has that potential. Like, they will win something this year. I think that's fair to say. But if we were to lose an Aiden Morris in the midfield, which I will say, or Cucho, but back to the Aiden Morris, like, it's almost shocking to me that we haven't heard more rumors about Aiden Morris leaving. Because Aiden Morris is a 2-time MLS Cup winner at 22 years old and one of the best 6'8s in all of MLS. He's featured for the U.S. men's national team probably 5 times now. Like, I don't know how he hasn't gotten a serious look, or maybe he has and we haven't heard about it. Now, Cucho, like, if he comes out and he's got 12 goals by League's Cup break, we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
We could be in trouble. There's going to be teams looking at Cucho, like 100%. If we lose Cucho, we have to have a very quick succession plan.
Yeah. He's
I mean, we lost Zelly, and I was like,
so.
Yeah.
Right. But then the fallback to Cucho is just Rossi. The fallback from Zella to Cucho wasn't very far, right? It was almost same. But if you go from Cucho to Rossi, like, you're losing a lot there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arston.
All right. Well,
where we at?
Hey, so I think that I think now is a good time to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk more about what to expect this season, just across the table.
I can't know how to hear any more about tables.
Highlight a few teams. So with that, we'll be right, Trap.
This episode of the Upper 90 Club is brought to you, as always, by Supporter Supply Company. Hi, friends, this is your good pal Morgan Hughes, here to talk to you about a serious issue facing 96% of all crew supporters in Columbus. Why, not enough free shipping, of course. For a limited time now, through the eventual heat death of the universe, Upper 90 Club listeners can use the promo code Upper90Boys. That's boys with a Z on the end of it, at checkout for free delivery on absolutely any order over $10. But Morgan, what if I order $10 worth of stickers or those goddamned buttons? or some other combination of small items that make you want to kill yourself? Will the free shipping still apply then, even as you curse our family, while you package up our little tiny annoying ass order for us? Of course it will. That's just how much we here at Supporter Supply value our friends at the Upper 90 Club. So head on over to supportersupply.co and use the promo code Upper90Boys, that's boys with a Z, at checkout for free shipping on all your orders over $10. And don't forget to tell them that your friends at the Upper 90 Club sent ya.
And we're back. Mort, have you recovered from the... Mort's drinking something called Free Spirits right now. It's spirit-free.
I'm not drinking that. It was more of a beer that would have taken a sip out of that thing. It's the alcohol-free beer.
You poured it out.
Not a bourbon. So it's not bourbon. It's an alcohol-free drink. It's supposed to be a bourbon. And I was sober when buying it, which is shameful. And I tried it again, and it's still horrendous. And I can still taste it, even after taking a sip of something else.
Luckily, not a sponsor. And so
I'll try
that. So since Haas quit his dry January early, Mort's making up for it. He's going dry February, and he's going to celebrate all of this dryness with a half marathon in early March, right?
And then a humid March.
I'm going to be on the side, like, people give you water. I'm just going to give you bourbon. I'll just be like, oh, here you go.
He's going to be our resident wet boy. More. Okay, so before we took the break, we were talking specifically the crew and what form they're in, but wanted to just kind of talk through a few of Blake's highlights for winners and losers going into this season. You mentioned Atlanta, Blake. How do you think they're going to do this year?
Man, I think right before the break, I said that they could be a team that goes out and competes for the Supporter Shield. It's not even so much for me about what they did this window. It's about what they did in the summer. They went out, before that, they got Gigi, Yakimakis up top, and Almeida underneath. Like that's good enough for a lot of teams. And then they go out and they get Silva, a left winger, and then Saba, not even going to try to say his last name, as a right winger. Like, that front four is one of the best front fours in all of MLS. Like I said, Almeida's the 10, and then they also went out and got box-to-box number 8, Tristan Mayumba. And he was the guy that had 1,000 fouls against the Columbus Crew, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't his best showing, but I think that he is going to be a very, very good number 8 in this league. A very good profile player, and I think he fits that system very well. But they reinforced that in this window by going out and getting a number 6. Last name is Schlitz, very good player. I believe he's Polish. He looks like the real deal. He looks like the guy. Yeah. Atlanta has run through so many number 6s. Ibarra, Sosa, you name it, over the past couple of years. They went out and got this guy, spent money, identified him, brought him in, and he's a young guy in his prime. He looks very mobile, physical in the midfield. Them having that midfield that they do, and then the 3 guys in front of them, that's really impressive. Now, what they did at the beginning of the window is get rid of Miles Robinson, right? And that's I think the one question mark about Atlanta is their center back pairing. I forget their starter's name that stayed, and then they did go out and they signed another guy as well. So they did reinforce and fill Miles Robinson's spot. So they do have 2 starting level center backs. But then you look at their fullback pairing, Brooks Leonard and Caleb Wiley, and then they went out and upgraded Brad Guzan's goalkeeping position to Josh Cohen, I believe is his name. They've done a really, really good job, and their front four is so impressive. Their central midfield behind that is so good, and their fullbacks are so good. I love
that's gonna be a good team.
what Atlanta has
And they're
done.
playing on plastic.
What they've done.
Yeah.
What they've done the last 3
And-
windows is super, super impressive.
Is Josh Cohen the guy that was playing over in Israel? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He had been rumored to come
Yeah.
back here for a number of years, and then they
Yes,
finally pulled the trigger and got him back over here.
And they brought in Dax McCarty
Yeah,
in the midfield. I think he's more of a backup.
That's
right?
a good
Yeah.
veteran presence, though.
Yeah.
It's a locker
He's
room
100
guy. He'll
years
be the
old.
backup behind Schlitz.
Extreme
I would say
veteran.
so.
Yeah.
Turf.
Yes.
That turf isn't going to help
MLS
them out.
1.0. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say their
Chiellini,
team definitely is the
adjacent.
hardest to pronounce.
Pronunciations brought to you by the idiots of Upper 90 Club.
Like their team in general is the hardest to pronounce.
Yeah.
I was going through their team and I was like, I can't say that. I'm not even going to try to say that.
Well,
I'm not going to say that name.
What's it, Saba, Lama?
Yeah, I'm not going to work here anymore.
yeah. We'll put that in post. So, and then we play Atlanta
Game 1
for Christmas, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is probably good because hopefully they don't
And
work
so-
out the kinks and we can just get one early.
Well, so I'm glad you said that, Ben, because the question I wanted to ask, and I know we're going pretty deep on Atlanta here, but it's good. I don't know how many times we played Atlanta last year, like 5?
Twice.
Nope, 5.
We played them 5 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Played them 5. Oh, duh.
Playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
and so we beat them 6-2 or something. I don't know. We scored 6 on them
Just
on a
cheating goals
skeleton
early.
crew early in the season, and then I think we played them pretty late, right? Away in the regular season.
Yeah,
I don't remember what
was
that score line was.
We
a
lost
tie
like
with
1.
It was a tie with Molino giving away a
that
free
was
kick.
the Molina was. We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had already written that off. That's why I couldn't remember. And then we won, lost, and won again.
Mm-hmm.
Blake, what's are these fluke games? How do you expect we're gonna stack up against them this time around?
It's going to be a shootout. I mean, it's going to be like a 3-3 type of game.
Yeah,
4-3,
4-2,
3-3. It's going to
4-2.
be a high scoring game. Like they're still going to have problems on their back line. We're still going to have problems on our back line. It's going to be who's going to put the ball in the back of the net more.
Yeah,
And if
Like,
Almeida,
they were the two highest scoring teams in MLS last year, facing off game 1 of the season. Like Don Garber knew what he was doing.
yeah.
Yep.
Man, I can't believe
Garbage.
how impressed I was with Guzan last year. I just remember being so frustrated with how good he was in a couple of those games.
I like Brad.
I think it was tie.
A couple of the games. Playoffs.
The tie game, I felt like he was stopping everything.
Yeah.
But and that was one of the games where, or one of the Atlanta games was where Nagby did his signature 20-yarder or
annual.
whatever.
yeah, he gets his
Okay.
one.
So then, who else? We saw Caleb Porter went to New England. That's the Revolution and not the Patriots with their coaching vacancy. But
Good.
what do you think about
note.
what do you think about them as a foe with our former coach out there?
Just like with Atlanta, we talk about Thiago Almada. New England has Carlos Hill. When you have one of the best playmakers in the league, you're going to have a chance at winning something. Caleb Porter, it's historically noted that when Caleb Porter comes to a team, they generally are, winning something in their first year under Caleb Porter. The years after, I can't tell you. It doesn't look great.
They're setting records for
New
ties.
England New England is, and a lot of people have said it, and I do agree with it. They are in win now mode. You have Carlos Hill, who's getting a little bit older. How much longer is he going to be in his prime? You have a plethora of wingers. Sean Kalai came in. They just made his deal permanent this offseason. He was great on the left wing. Explosive, dynamic, direct on that left wing when he came in the summer. Dylan Barrero, just like Will Sands for us, got hurt early last year. I believe he tore his ACL, maybe his Achilles, can't remember. But he's going to be coming back early in the season. And he, just opposite of Sean Kalai, is also a super fast, direct player. That's going to put up double-digit goals this year. Their big question mark is who's going to score the goals up top. Like, they don't really have a number 9. Vrioni is a designated player. They also have Bobby Wood. Vrioni wasn't great last year, and Bobby Wood isn't a starter in MLS, at least not for a title-contending team.
No.
So, that's their attack, and their attack is generally good. They just have to figure out the number 9 spot. Everything else behind that is pretty sturdy. They have a number of center midfielders, Mark Anthony Kay, Matt Polster, Noel Buck, who's one of the most
Anthony
highly
Kay's
touted
awesome.
youth players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mark Anthony Kay is
I like
great.
that guy.
God, there's a number of players they brought in. Brandon Bai was injured last year, and they replaced him with Nick Lima from Austin FC. They have DeJuan Jones opposite of him. They went out and they got our guy, I said Giassi Zardes. Somebody help me out here. Center back.
Jonathan Mensah.
Jonathan Mensah. Thank you.
Yep.
They went out and got Jonathan Mensah.
The
next to
Zardes
either
of
Matt
the
Kessler or
defense.
whoever else they
Yeah.
had back there. Yes, exactly. So like and they just got their new goalkeeper, and they have a history of getting good goalkeepers, developing them, and selling them for millions of dollars. Like that is a really, really good freaking team again, and they have some young pieces as well that have come up through the academy. And so like New England is a team that they finished 5th last season. They
and they had all that coaching.
They got out of the gates
nonsense,
super hot, and then all the Bruce Arena happened, and the team literally went to.
Yeah.
I think if Caleb Porter gets there, rights the ship, sturdies everything, gets the best out of his players, this is absolutely a team that can contend.
I will say though that I am a little skeptical when you describe Caleb Porter as the head coach seeking a strong number 9, right? It's just so triggering for like August and September of 2022.
They brought in that Tomas, was it Chanchalai or whatever his name is? He scored 13 goals and had 6 assists since June, or he came in July.
Yeah.
And I remember him playing against us, and he hit the woodwork, like we had to rip off the crossbar, and he was terrorizing us for a while there.
Is Jones there still too?
He's
DeJuan
back there
Jones?
too. So the squad they have is pretty good. I mean, like I think there's a squad that actually will fit Caleb Porter. I was surprised with some of these MLS, listening to the Total Soccer Show and a couple other shows, and they weren't even interested in really talking about New England. They didn't think anything that they're going to do anything big this year, and I think they're totally off.
I think New England, I feel like got too much turbulence with all their off-field drama late last season, where like they looked strong and just kind of fizzled out. I don't know. Yeah. So and then the other location where we have sent a coach recently would be Montreal, with Laurent Courtois, our Crew 2 coach, going up to coach the first team in Montreal.
Man, I wish you would have stayed for one more year, and then when Wilfred goes to Lille or wherever he goes, like we just promote Laurent and then just keep smashing teams. When he got the job, I was like, oh, bummer.
Oh, you never know what kind of Saputo tiff will.
I was gonna say,
Well,
Joey Saputo up there. He's not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go well. I mean, I want it to go well for Laurent, but
not that well.
What do you think, Blake?
First and foremost, like congrats, Laurent. He did a phenomenal job in MLS Next Pro, and Montreal missed the playoffs by like a point or two last year. They finished 10th, so they just missed the play-in game, and Laurent Courtois obviously, has the same sort of tactical philosophy and whatnot that Wilfred did. Montreal still has some of the same pieces that they did when Wilfred was there. So Laurent, when he gets in there, if he can reinstill some of that tactical philosophy, that 3-4-3 and those things that they play, and if he can get in there and do that with those pieces, they just went in and they got a number 10, which is big time. And then they also got a new number 9, Caraco, I believe is his name. Those are two really difficult positions for a lot of teams to fill. A lot of teams haven't filled those two positions in this offseason. And Laurent Courtois has been in the building for 2-3 months now, maybe tops. And he's found his center attacking midfielder. He's found his starting number 9. And they have a lot of solid pieces around. And it's not like they missed the playoffs by a bunch of points. So
where did Mihailovic go? Didn't Mihailovic
He's in
come back?
Colorado. He's in Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. That's right.
Yep.
Because that was a huge piece of Nazi's system when he was in Montreal. That guy was a monster. He didn't perform well in AZ, but
so like CF Montreal still has some pieces to that midfield. Victor Wanyama is still there. Piet is still there.
Trey, what do you think about Piet again?
I'm sorry, that guy sucks. That guy's horrible.
Because of his tucked shirt or his enormous buttocks?
He tucks his shirt and it drives me insane.
Man. A couple of hams.
Yeah.
Some honey bacon back there.
On that man.
Cracking walnuts. Woo! Woo! Specially made shorts.
He finally stopped wearing copas. My God.
Bless his heart. The real Jeff Agoos back there. You know what I mean?
So Blake, we get triggered by certain players in this podcast.
I love that I brought up Wanyama.
Yeah. Wanyama's fine. He's fine.
He's like 150 years old. I thought he left. I thought for sure he was gone because he's an ex-Spurs player, and I follow Spurs.
Oh, that's the old Tottenham guy.
He's not.
That's
yeah,
right.
he's not. He's not.
He's old.
He's no Jonathan
He's
Mensah.
Like so old.
Yeah, he's my age. 1 foot in the grave.
He's 30. He's 32.
Yeah.
Okay, he's 32.
Are you serious? Wow. Am I 32?
No,
Is that what that means?
No, you are not.
I know that's not what that means.
Your mustache is 32.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing
So
is.
good for Courtois.
Okay.
We'll see how.
We'll welcome him back this time next year.
Yeah, we'll welcome him back. That's right.
Yeah.
Can
we talk about teams that don't
well,
play on
that
turf?
Montreal guy kicked
Or
out because
teams that
we
are
beat him in the
terrible.
last game, but that's another story too. But yeah.
Well, so yeah, I want to hear from Blake. Yeah, who do you think didn't do so well, kind of.
There's
Really?
two teams. I get what you're saying. There's two teams in the East that immediately stand out. One team lost two DPs on the European deadline day. That's Charlotte. They lost Swiderski and Uzwiak on deadline day.
Oh.
They have one lone DP, a couple injuries. Their only incoming signing was a goalkeeper. Like, Charlotte are going to struggle. They finished in 9th last year. They're going to be really, really bad, I think, this year. They do have a new head coach, Dean Smith. I think that they might wait until summer to make some new signings, but they're going to be really, really bad. The other team, the team that was they won the Spoon last year, Toronto FC. Regardless of having Bernadeschi and Insigne and a new head coach, John Herman, I just don't foresee it getting any better. They haven't made any changes. They brought in a center defensive midfielder to replace Michael Bradley, and that is literally it. And a
That
couple
team
draft
was
picks.
such a mess last year.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
Bradley was playing like center back at the end of the year.
Bradley's
or something like that. Like,
terrible.
they couldn't figure it out.
Like you said, they had some talent on that team last year, but we talked about it. Like, it looked like they were all just fighting with each other.
They hated
Yeah,
the whole time.
Bernadeschi's a good player, but
the
man, he's a cancer.
The enjoyable thing about them was that he should get relegated with Toronto if it was a proper league in that sense. But then he went to Norway and got relegated as an assistant coach for my club outside of Oslo.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
it all came back around. Last team I want to talk about that everyone's talking about. You know them from
They're behind the curtain.
you know them from their massive tour across Asia. We don't really talk about Miami that much here,
and who
We
also
only have Messi.
should have been
That's it.
relegated if we were actually pro rel league.
Who got booed out of Hong Kong.
They were a different team in the League's Cup than they
was booed out of
were
Hong Kong.
in the regular season, with one notable player who didn't play many minutes during the regular season. But what do you think about Miami? What do you think their outlook is this year?
I think a trophy is. I think that's a realistic expectation for them, and I say that because of just obviously the players that they brought in, Suarez, Busquets, Messi, Alba, those guys, and then there's other players that they've been able to bring in using the under 22 initiative thing. So like it's trophy or bust for this team. Like it's almost multiple trophies or bust because they have a window. It's this one window. It's this 1 year.
Yeah.
If they can if they can get through this year, I don't even think they'll get through this year.
That's where I'm at.
Suarez didn't even. I don't think he played at all this morning. I wasn't up at 3 a.m. I'm a sicko, but not that much of a sicko to get up and watch.
He didn't play.
Right. Him and Messi both didn't play. Suarez, we already knew going into the season that he had knee issues, and that's why he missed this game. He looks like he's running in quicksands, as does Busquets. Busquets is not mobile in that midfield.
Nope.
I don't know. I mean, it sounds good on paper, like it's going to sell tickets. It's getting all eyes on MLS. They're doing this huge worldwide tour, whatever. It's a big money grab. I don't know how much success that it leads to. I'm not a huge fan of it because it's going to be here for 1 year and then it's going to dissipate and then it's just going to be nothing.
So
I think the tour is making MLS look like a joke. Like they're the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
For all Europeans and everyone worldwide.
So I have a question. I mean, and this relates to a different topic, but how is Miami going to host a World Cup game? Are they going to have a stadium built in time?
No, they're hosting it at the Dolphins Stadium, right?
Oh, yeah, they probably wouldn't play.
Yeah,
at
they're
an MLS
hosting
stadium
most
anyway.
of those games in the NFL stadiums, I'm pretty sure.
That's
Yeah,
a cop
no.
out. Come on. Build your stadium.
No, speaking of
Nice
Miami,
jab.
I
Build
think
that stadium.
it goes one out of two ways, and I hope it is the second way. Either one, the expectation with the squad they have and all that focus and all that, they're going to go and win a ton of stuff, or they're going to be just a absolute crap show. And yeah, that it's going to be
Too
like
old to
the
play.
high expectation.
Suarez
and
had
they're
a
going
bunch
to be
of goals last year.
don't want to
didn't
travel.
he?
They get tired of the whole thing.
Yeah,
They
he
get
did.
like losing, and then it's probably suddenly not worth it for some of these older people to have to go and play in Chicago and have it's not good. They're going to be full everywhere they go, but they're going to go to places they don't want to go. I could go that way, or they could be they can blow everybody out of the water with that squad if they make it work.
I mean, Messi tried when he came over. I felt like he tried more than he did when he was at PSG, or at least it looked like.
No,
he did.
and he
and
pretty
that's
much
my
said it. He
opinion
was happy.
just based on eye test.
Well, this is like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't.
He was sick. I mean, he's the best player in the world.
I'm not an authority on these things, but like LeBron James comes to mind. Like he's a great player. Goes to LA and
pretty
can't
good.
make the playoffs, right? Like I don't
They
know.
won the
He's my age.
championship in 2020.
Yeah, they did. That
I
was
didn't know that
long
Neville's
time
son
ago.
was in the squad
long
too.
time ago for a 39-year-old.
Yeah, on my
Well, he's actually
he's in Portland.
Nope.
He's in Portland
But
right
Phil
now. Trying.
Neville's son, Harvey Neville, is in Miami
Yes.
squad now.
No,
Oh,
he's
still
he's in
they haven't
Portland.
updated that.
Yeah, he's
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
He went where his
No.
dad's.
They haven't updated
at.
things.
But, you know.
Okay, this is what the internet is telling me.
I'm up to date on my Neville.
I should have cheesed it.
All right,
information.
You gotta cheese it. Gotta cheese
Yeah,
it.
you gotta cheese it. Gotta cheese it. Blake, if you
Best-
don't know already, it's allswisscow.com. If you need to look something up that way, you won't have any accidental.
Wait, can you cheese this? More, you may know this, but did you know that Phil Neville's dad is named Neville?
Yes, I did
I
know
did
that.
not know that, but
Yes.
that's great.
I think this is a good place for us to break.
Yeah. No, truly, his name is Neville. Gary
Let's,
Neville and Phil Neville's dad is.
While we're on break, we
Harry
will
Potter.
investigate whether there are any other mistakes in the internet, and
There are
and
none.
then we'll be
It's perfect.
back right after that.
You there! Yes, you, listening to this on your mobile device. I can't help but notice you're lost in this jungle that is the world of the Columbus Crew. Not to worry, my friend. I shall guide you through the complicated history of the greatest team the world has ever seen. Come with me, this way, into the Crewniverse! Into the Crewniverse, a brand new podcast dedicated to helping newbies understand the ins and outs of the Columbus Crew and the MLS. Whether you're a seasoned veteran like me, or brand new to the world of Major League Soccer like John, you can tune in every week for historical discussion and game analysis about the Columbus Crew.
All right, we're back, and you just heard the ad from Way. I think he was the first winner of one of our prediction challenges or something like that. I think there's also an active restraining order against Ben.
Yes.
Based on some of
True.
the things that
I
he
sent him
said.
a bunch of weird stuff that he's like, no, it was cool. And I'm like, was it though?
Yeah.
Was it
I
though?
swear I didn't throw it away.
Well, anyway, so Way has a new crew podcast,
Because they
Into the
burn it.
Crewniverse. I'll say that again, Into the Crewniverse.
It's great.
And they're doing like crew history kind of thing. It actually jogged my memory. When I was listening to their first episode, I had a bar chat one time with the old city manager of Obetz, who was around when the Crew kicked off and worked closely with Lamar Hunt. So I'm going to try and connect those two guys so he can jump on and
That sounds great.
and
I was at
share
the,
that
did
story
you-
with
I was at
everybody.
the Zogs game. They were talking about the Zogs, and I actually reached out to.
Was it at Kaufman? Did they play at Kaufman?
Yeah.
Okay. I never knew that.
Trey, did you go? I feel like you definitely went.
I did
Yeah, you would have to.
not go at all.
Haas and I are Kaufman alum,
It was like watching a high school game.
but
It was just a high school
I didn't
game.
know. Yeah, it was probably like that.
Got a Zog
Only
hat
with
coming
fewer
though
fans.
from Supporter Supply. No big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, so so check that podcast out. It's great. Go away. Go away. Don't go away.
Thank you, Way.
Don't go away. We're not done yet. We're not done yet.
Way.
All right.
All right, yeah.
The things we wanted to talk about are new rules for this season.
rules.
There are a few of note. Can I throw to someone on this?
It's got to be Haas because I didn't.
It's got to be Haas.
Yeah, I think
He's
so.
got such
I didn't
a
read
number
it.
for it.
I mean, recovering the big changes. for
Oh,
this?
Yeah, the
Or the minor
really
changes.
big
The really
changes.
big
Tell us about the new rules, Oz.
There's a new injury rule where it's an off-field treatment rule. Any player who remains down with a suspected injury for at least 15 seconds has to be removed from the field by a medical crew and receive treatment on the side for a minimum of 2 minutes. So it's almost like a penalty box sort of
for being
situation.
hurt.
So you've got the ref like counting off like in the
Basketball?
NBA
Yeah.
up to 15.
WWE. He's like,
And it says exceptions to the 2 minute requirement will be made when the injuries come from fouls that earn yellow or red cards. So I don't understand if that means they get less time
severity.
because the foul was so bad.
Yeah.
in other words,
And the
if you're
card
not hurt.
has to be produced within the 15 seconds.
yeah.
There's no retroactive application of the rule. Okay. All right. Yep.
Then there's a new substitution rule that they've been doing in MLS Next Pro where the player has to leave the field within 10 seconds of their number being called. If they fail to leave the field in that allotted time, their replacement has to wait an additional minute to enter or at the next stoppage.
And these guys,
Um,
this is like a power play situation, right? It's like these guys are gonna have to hustle, or they're gonna be like sitting in
Multiple
the penalty
clocks.
box. Yeah,
So many
multiple
clocks.
clocks.
Timers.
So many clocks. Who's gonna hold all the clocks?
Courtney.
Courtney's
gonna hold all the clocks.
This
She'll have one less clock to hold.
right. Tell us about the
We
third
are
rule.
really
Yeah.
playing with fire,
Yep.
boys.
Finally.
Tell us about it.
Finally.
Tell
all
us
the
about the third
emails.
rule.
MLS approved.
All the emails.
Stoppage time will now be shown in the stadiums. The scoreboard used to stop at 45 and 90, and it will now continue past those minutes and show you the amount of time.
Boy,
The game has
I
continued.
would love to be the contractor who gets to go and
Install new
install
clocks.
all of the new firmware to allow these clocks to count past those numbers.
It's like hitting the year 2000.
They're going to be like
Where
just
things just
rolling
stop.
in money. You'll be like, well, what are you doing up there? This is making the improvements to the new rules.
It just lights on fire.
Also,
technology.
VAR decisions made over microphone to the crowd.
I thought that was an EPL
Oh.
thing. That's a FIFA thing?
It's MLS now,
MLS
too.
too. I read that for
kinda like that.
interesting. I liked it. Did you guys listen to any of the? I think it was like the Liverpool games had issues, and they went back and had the audio.
No, but I think
heard
what
it was
they're
like-
talking about is
it
two
was-
different
oh,
things.
yeah.
It made me feel a lot better about VAR.
So in England, they're talking about
Yeah,
how
no,
you can
no,
actually
yeah.
hear the communication with the crew back,
Yeah.
the back crew, if you want to call it that. But here we talk
This
about they
they're
have to
going to
announce what
it
the
like
call
college
was.
football.
Oh,
Yeah.
on the field.
The
Oh,
They
Women's
did that
World
in
Cup,
what?
they
The
did that,
Women's
and
World
that was
Cup? Were
pretty
they
Yes,
doing
they
the same
did.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
weird.
Makes it a little less confusing as a fan in the stadium because it's hard, hard to catch what the ref is calling sometimes.
Yeah.
That's because you're yelling at him.
These are problems I don't have because I never make it to a game. Blake, do you get back to Columbus for games or elsewhere for games?
Yeah, so I try to get to at least one or two games every year. This past year, I went to actually the U.S. Open Cup game when they played Loudoun United up in Northern
Yeah.
Virginia. I got to that one. That was a super fun game to go to. We blew them out, obviously, but it was a nice environment, great game to go to. Got to see a lot of the younger guys play and score a lot of goals, so that was cool. And then I got to go to MLS Cup final, like I said. So I try to get to go to one or two a year. And
Yeah.
Last year I really had to weigh my options. I was like, all right, do I go to the Eastern Conference Final? Because I don't know if I can swing the Eastern Conference Final and MLS Cup. So I was like,
You got married.
if I don't go to the Eastern Conference
Had
Final.
to roll the dice.
Yeah, it's like if we go to the Eastern Conference Final, I don't go and they lose, then I don't go to either. So yeah, I rolled the dice and thankfully we won and I got to go to MLS Cup Final. So I'll definitely be thankful, like, of all those rules that you said, as being able to see the stoppage time. For sure.
100%.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I remember MLS Cup Final, I had my stopwatch out. I'm like, all right, like, blow the whistle.
Yeah.
Trying to watch the game and my clock at the same time.
Yeah. Well, so we had Courtney Sullivan on here who I think she capoed part of that game, right? We had her on here right after that game.
Her shoulders hurt.
Yeah, we still had
holding
a party
the clocks.
voices and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, well, so we'll just get her or someone on her team, like a 15-second clock and a 10-second clock, right? Is that what they need? They just count down.
Yeah, it's also true.
And then it'll have like install some air horns on it or something to go
So
off.
Courtney, you
if
can
it
cut down on
gets
your
to
shoulder
0.
press routine now. You don't need as much shoulder strength.
It's just 10, 15-second bursts. That's all you need. Okay, great. Anyone else? Any other thoughts on these new rules? I'm down. I mean,
yeah, I kind of like them. These are all trialed through MLS Next Pro, right? Like that's kind of like their quote unquote
Correct.
experimental league. And they said that from what I'm reading, it's like it didn't really affect that much during the season, especially the postseason stuff. But like I feel like the 10 seconds is legit. Like people take longer than 10 seconds because I think the alternate to that is what we saw in the world.
10 seconds. You have to hustle, man.
Yeah, I was thinking that's the first thing I thought is like if I'm on the opposite side of the field and I got to go like high five Haas because he's subbing in for me, like I've got to run.
Yeah,
'cause that's a long
Sounds like
way.
it's from the
Captain's
time.
Exit at any point.
Yeah, they're going to exit at
all that's
whatever.
logistics.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
I think the biggest one will be the first one when it comes to, I think you're going to see guys get up a lot faster knowing that they're going to be penalized for it.
that's a crazy rule.
Yeah.
But what if
You
you're
know what I
really
mean?
hurt? Like, what if you're
Santos
really
rule.
hurt?
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
You're just
if
gonna
you're
throw
really
me
hurt-
on a. You're gonna throw me on a stretcher and run me off the field because I lay here for 15
Yeah.
seconds.
And then you have to
Like,
wait
blown
2
out knee?
minutes?
Like,
yeah, or you have to
We're
wait
gonna
2 minutes.
innovate.
Like, dude,
We're
it
going to
hurts to
innovate the
watch.
jerseys
Well, then
and the shorts to have wheels on them. And
The
you
2
can just,
minutes
If you're
doesn't
really
matter.
hurt, you need more than 2 minutes.
yeah,
So,
yeah, but
Okay, mom.
we're
So
just
you can be on the field
this
for
is-
more than
we'll
15
just call
seconds
this-
because you're not faking
we'll
it.
just call this the Philadelphia rule, where Philadelphia goes down at any contact if they're up by 1 goal. That's it. They go
Yeah.
down or they foul. One of two things. So
So we'll call it the Philadelphia rule.
okay.
How are all those
Everyone's
geezers
gonna
in
get
Miami
that.
going to handle these new rules?
They will not
Cards
apply. They will
It's
not
going to
apply.
take them a long time
Are
to
you
stand
are you
up.
talking about the fans or the people in the field?
They're fans?
Yeah,
The players.
their supporter section is called Del Boca Vista, isn't it? All right.
I've been holding on to that one
Okay.
for a
Well, no. You know what? That was actually organic. That was organic.
while. Oh.
I will sit on
So
a
is
joke,
this.
but that was
Still
not
not
one of them. Mort's still thinking about the
Little too
free-
organic.
free
You're drinking your
spirits.
non-alcoholic bourbon, Papa
Yeah,
Mo.
it's like
Go
it
back
could
to
be
the
anything.
beer.
Like why did what you're like? Yeah, it's just not. It's maybe it's the Kentucky River water. What was like Red River Gorge? I don't know. I'm sure it's great.
That's
okay,
West Virginia.
Blake, it has been great having you on this show.
Yeah, man.
We were going to talk about other teams in the world that we should follow. And we're going to do that another time because we've had a great conversation about what the Crew and other teams around the league are looking like going into this season.
Plus, he's an Arsenal
I'm
fan.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, no.
Good win today.
Oof.
hey, we just beat Liverpool today, man. Big win.
That was a beating. But they were tired.
Hey,
Yeah.
Liverpool's fine. Arsenal's fine.
Chelsea
Chelsea can go
smashed.
suck a big.
Chelsea are very bad right now.
Oh, that's the best.
No, they're bad always.
Yeah.
Yeah, they suck.
I think we had noted
Horrible.
that we were going to talk about Man U tonight.
Oh yeah,
Like my whole just understanding of Man U kind of started when I started watching soccer in like 06, 07. And it was kind of like one of these things where it was like, yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man U were always top 4 in the EPL. And Man U won like
everything.
every
90s.
year. Right? Like I can remember a couple of like Champions League, Chelsea. I don't know. I don't remember it specifically enough, but like for several years, Manchester United, it was like, as a new fan of soccer, was just like, oh, this is the team that wins everything every time. Time has added some perspective there. So I'll look forward to hearing your pitch, pun acknowledged, on a future episode. But until then, thanks again to Blake from MLS Gone Wild. Check out the podcast, MLS Gone Wild, on Twitter. And then before we go, Blake, anything else you got cooking?
Yeah, I forgot to mention this off the rip, but yeah, follow me over on Twitter, MLS Gone Wild, Instagram, MLS Gone Wild. If any of you guys are interested in playing MLS Fantasy, that app should be hopefully up within the next week or so. Myself and one of my buddies down in Charlotte, Brian Maurer, we run a podcast called Dropping Points. You can find us over on Apple, Spotify, all that stuff. We give you our unsolicited advice on a weekly basis on players to pick, matchups to take a look at, and then keep you guys updated on our MLS Fantasy League that we host and purchase a prize for at the end of the year. So check us out. We also have Twitter as well, Dropping Points on Twitter, X, whatever you call it.
Are you doing fantasy through the MLSsoccer.com, like the actual MLS?
Yeah.
I've done that before. I actually think it's kind of fun. I'm the only one on the pod, I think, that did it, but I think
fun. It is fun.
It's interesting.
I'm bad. Horrible.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it, but we should. We should. I might do like an Upper 90 Club like thing and get people, and we'll like give out something and point to your pod for some tips. I need tips.
Fun.
We're
you guys
terrible.
should definitely do it. Yeah,
Awesome.
We should have our first episodes out in the next week or two.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Awesome.
All right, Blake. Thanks again for joining us. And until next time, go Crew.
Go Crew.
Go away. Thanks, everyone, for joining the club. We hope you'll listen next week and every week, even in the off season, to celebrate or commiserate. We'll save you a seat. If you like this podcast, please give us 5 stars and subscribe. You can email us at upper90clubpod@gmail.com. That's upper90clubpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at upper90clubpod. Go Crew!
Your shirt says boys are, and I feel like the next shirt, boys are good. Oh my god, boys are good. No, that's not what it. Nope.
Finger licking good vibrations.